guys, welcome and welcome back to the channel. It's Sierra and I'm going to be reviewing, I'm going to be reading a few one-star reviews of 5-star books that I read last year. So I have The Conjuring of America, Ace of Spades, When the Reckoning Comes, The White Guy Dies First, The Taking of Jake Livingston, The Black Queen, Don't Let 'Em In, Magic in the Melanin, and 107 Days. So we know that one's going to be fine. I'm just going to do about two, so this video is not clearly long. So let's just go ahead and jump right on in. So the first one from The Conjuring of America, this was a 2-star rating. I didn't see any 1 stars. There was a 1 star, but I wasn't able to click on it for some reason. I wasn't able to see it. But the person just wrote, "Not my kind of book," which it's vague. So it's like, what do you mean that's not your kind of book? Like, just not the kind of book because it's about Black women? Is it because it's spiritual? I don't know. So it's just very vague. I don't really have much to add to that or anything that will sway me. It's just like, okay, anyway, moving on. Next one, I just can't get behind a book that quotes a conversation between 2 people from 100 years ago as though they were there. Like, how do you know this is what was said? It just takes away any credibility, which is really critical in a history book. Isn't that what the Bible is? I'm not saying that the reviewer is Christian, but I'm like, isn't that literally what the Bible is? Just recounting conversations and stories from long ago written down, but you can't get behind this book, but people can get behind the Bible. It makes no sense to me. So I don't really find any validity in this. It's just like, well, then why are people Christian? And I don't even think it was like a conversation between 2 people from 100 years ago. I think it was a conversation between the author and just with someone in her life, I believe it was. So I don't think it was 100 years ago, but I think it's just like, it's just also just a very serious and very true conversation when it comes to America and its presence and its history, and the trauma involved. So it's like, it's very credible. I'm just saying. Next up is Ace of Spades. So the first one is a 1-star rating, and it says, immediately no, this was not Gossip Girl meets Get Out. It was Roots with cell phones. I can't tell if I actually hated this book or was just traumatized. It's as if every bad thing that could possibly happen to a Black person was disjointedly crammed in this book. I can say this, Chiamaka was the worst. I was over her by page 10. I will say Chiamaka is not the most well-liked character, but she is a perspective that is very common within the Black community. Whether Black, African, but still within the Black community, it's a perspective that's very common, where you have someone who is very much used to that kind of environment and that upbringing, so they don't really see anything wrong with calling the police or getting people involved and wanting to figure out what is happening. While I forgot the other character's name, but while he is more hesitant because of his own experiences. As someone who I didn't grow up like Chiamaka, but I grew up in the suburbs for a majority of my life. I grew up around diverse people, literally not just palm colored people. Like my best friend, literally my best friend, my soulmate, my girl is an Indian girl. Like, that's so, like, someone literally thought that we were actually related because we just clicked so well. That's someone that I'm gonna love to death. I love her to death, no matter where we are in our journey. But I feel like it's just from that perspective, like if you have that upbringing where you're used to being around people and being able to call the police or feel comfortable around certain authority figures, then it's a different experience. It's not bad or good, it's just a different experience. Chiamaka on her own, she was annoying a lot of the times, but it is a perspective that is needed for this story, especially if you're gonna have Gossip Girl and have like that Gossip Girl kind of style to it. It's important to have that perspective. Also, it is like Gossip Girl. There were so many reviews of people saying like, it's not like Gossip Girl, it's not like Gossip Girl. And it's not necessarily like Gossip Girl in terms of like, oh, the elite and their very tight circle of dating and drama. It was more so the fact of the actual Gossip Girl. Like, there is literally someone who gets all this information from other people that also contribute to these posts, because literally the whole point of Gossip Girl was, if you haven't seen the show, I'm gonna spoil it for you. It's Dan Humphrey. He's Gossip Girl. And then Georgina stole it, and then Dan got it back. But it's the whole point that other people are giving out this information to Gossip Girl, sending in photos or sending in pieces of conversations that they hear. So everyone is technically Gossip Girl, because everyone is aiding and abetting this gossip and adding to it, to the point where Dan Humphrey actually creates a post. But everyone contributes to it, just like this book. Everyone contributes to all of this information about Chiamaka, our main character, and the people in their lives. Everyone contributes to it. That's the whole point of the story. At least that's how I'm interpreting it. Everyone has a part in destroying Chiamaka and our main character, with one common ground: racism. So it is like Gossip Girl, just not racism. But the implications of it do make sense. It is Gossip Girl. And obviously Get Out, we know how that happens. We know that's the actual racism part, and trying to keep a system and people down in a way by toying with them and being manipulative. And yeah, that's the whole point. So it really is Gossip Girl meets Get Out. At least that's how I'm interpreting it. So I don't know if everybody got that, but literally as I'm reading it, I'm like, that it literally is Gossip Girl. Anyway. Next one is a longer one, so I just got a segment of it. So this one says, also, this is a minor pet peeve that I would forgive in a book I liked more, but the British isms, come on, that's editing 101. Like, oh, Teehee, our school, I'm not gonna read the whole thing, editing 101. The author is British, just write about British racism. Ugh, I'm so sad. Having good representation and a fun summary does not actually make it good, unfortunately. What I don't get is the British racism. It's like, oh, just write about British racism. Isn't that just racism? How is British racism different just because it's in the UK? It's still racism, because it's still palm-colored people that are doing it, with just accents and a different way of speaking. It's still racism. So it's not British racism, it's just racism. I was just confused about this one. Moving on to When the Reckoning Comes. So this first one pretty much just says, like, I hated this book. It is about ghosts of maltreated slaves coming back to haunt / unalive the descendants of former slaves. Also, misspelling right there. I hate to be that person. The Afro-American author is full of hate and resentment regarding things that have happened to those in the past. I can't fault her for her feelings and wanting to get even with Whitey, but enough is enough. It is a stand on our country's history, but keeping on bringing it up does little to affect any movement to the sense created by people I'm unrelated to. Enough already. First of all, that sentence was poorly grammatically structured, first of all. Second of all, there's this thing to equate slavery with the Holocaust, and both are bad, yes. Terrible. But one has continued and still continues to this day through systematic racism in different ways to oppress Black people. That is still ongoing, while the other one literally happened and ended. They're both bad, but one still continues to this day. How do we know this? Literally by anything that we see, anything that we consume, from police brutality, police unaliving people left and right for no reason other than the fact that they got a gun. Like, it's there. But there are a lot of people who don't want to see that or try to ignore it. But the truth is the truth, and it's right there. It's in your faces. It's in our faces all the time. It's very, very obvious. This country is very obvious with its hatred for Black people. It's not hidden. So I don't know where this, it was in the past. No, it's right in your face. It's in our faces 24/7. It's always in our face. They code it indifferently. They put it different places. They try to make it sparkle and glimmer, but it's there. It's still there in everything that we see. We see it in reality TV, how they treat Black women, especially dark-skinned Black women. We saw literally how everyone on Love Island, I didn't watch the show, but watching clips and hearing other people's opinion and reading pieces, the production didn't want Olandria to be the star that she is. And neither did a lot of the contestants, because a lot of people hate on her and Nick for being together and questioning their relationship. But yet she is literally the people's princess. She's getting everything that she has ever wanted and more. She has the world in her hands and people hate it. But we see it all the time in media. We see it the way we have food deserts in the hood, in the ghetto, where you literally have a corner store, but you don't have Whole Foods. You don't have any fresh food. And the fresh food that you do have, Whole Foods or any other store, it's expensive and it's on the north side of Chicago. It's very obvious. It's not hidden. So I don't know why we're playing like it's the past. It's very present, and it's always present, and it's always going to be present until people like this just open up their eyes. Maybe they're walking around like this. I don't know. Eyes closed. But until people actually see it for what it is, and not just, I'm not talking about just palm-colored people, because there are palm-colored people who literally are trying to help dismantle it, or at least they share the information to other palm-colored people or other people in general, other ethnicities of this diaspora and all these different, all this gentrification and everything like that. There are people that actually share this information, but the people who don't want to understand it are the problem. That's why it keeps going, because people want to play like la di la di da 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 da, like they don't see it. Anyway. This one just says, I really wanted to love this, but I struggled to finish it. I think I like the idea more than the execution. I think that's just a personal preference. For me, I love the book, obviously, because I rated it 5 stars. I would have loved a little bit more of the violence, but that's just me. I would have loved more of it. But the execution overall was a really, 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 really good book. So I think it's really is just a preference on what you expected for the execution, or just how you thought it would play out. And I think that comes with any book, really, because you just get a summary. You don't get the play-by-play from beginning, middle, and end. You get a summary. And so there's going to be parts that you don't know. So you think it's going to go one way and it goes another way. That's literally just when reading a book. So I'm not really mad at that. I don't have anything to say to that. That's just a personal opinion. Moving on to The White Guy Dies First. This one, somebody says, Black people are apparently really fixated on the idea that Black characters always die first in horror movies, which is a myth. And they go on to say that there aren't enough examples to clarify that claim. I've watched and read a lot of horror in my time, and I can't think of any examples where a Black character actually dies first. It's usually a white person who dies first in most horror films and books anyway. Either way, the book is racist, and the people who contributed, the authors who contribute to it, are also racist. Sorry, finish that. I don't think it necessarily, in my perspective, I don't think it's that Black people die first, but Black people are typically around the first 2 Black people to die. A lot of the times it's always a Black person, and it's always the couple that's like making out and trying to have schmeck somewhere. It's usually those characters typically that go first. And so it depends on the movie too. Like, there are some movies where the Black character doesn't die first, but there are examples where the Black character does die first. So I think it really is just twisting it on its head and just saying what it's like to have a character die first that is not a Black character. But it depends on the movie. It depends on what you're consuming, because when you think of horror in general, there's a lot of different aspects of horror movies. Like, there's psychological horror, there's more like blood and gory horror, and also depending on the cast too. So I think it's just such a variety, especially now. So it's kind of hard to pinpoint that exactly. But to say that it's racist, that's a little bit far, babe. But there are plenty of horror movies where the Black character has died first. That's just a fact. And there's also horror movies where Black characters didn't die first. That's also a fact. The two can definitely, like, you know, they both can exist. And so I feel like the anthology is just a fun twist on that. It's just like, ooh, well, what if the black character didn't die first? Or like, but also, what if it was in these different situations and different themes and different things going on? So I think everybody just took a play off of the whole dynamic of horror, and instead of a black person dying first, just like just playing with the idea of horror too. Because even in some, I think it was in one of the stories, I think it was Golden Dragon, I think it was the one that I read. I mean, I read them all, but I mean, like, the one that I really, really liked, not Dragon. It was at a Chinese restaurant, though. I don't think a white guy died first in that one. I don't think so. If so, I'm wrong. But I feel like each story just had their own interpretation of horror and who dies first. And really, it's just fun to read. Like, it ain't gotta be that deep. Like some books are literally just for like, ooh, like it's a twist. It's not something to be extremely like about. For me, the book was really all the stories were really good. Some were a little bit better than others, but it was still entertaining. I found some of the stories like funny, and I don't know if those were the author's intentions, but I enjoyed it, and I laughed at a few of them because some of the characters were just ridiculous. But it was just for entertainment. It kind of read to me kind of like Goosebump episodes for me. So that's what I took from it. So to say that the book is racist and the authors who contributed are, that's far-fetched. I'm gonna need you to take several chill pills and take a nap. All right, moving on to The Taking of Jake Livingston. There wasn't a 1-star rating, there was a 1.5 rating. And the person wrote, "It physically pained me to have to DNF this book, but I am about 60% in and still have no idea what's happening. Also, I refuse to be made to feel bad for a school pupil, regardless of how shitty his home life is. And all great premise, but too poor of an execution." So I don't think the book necessarily wanted you to feel bad about the school pupil. I think it was just a look into his home life, but I didn't necessarily feel bad for him. He's still a terrible person. And as the spirit in general, because I believe that also, like, when it comes to death, whatever emotional state the person was in, that can carry over and manifest greatly when they pass away. So the character was already in a very angry state from everything, from his own life, from being bullied in school, and then being unalived. That all that anger carried over to him and wanting to take over Jake Livingston. Not because like, oh, I want you to seek justice too, not like in the kind of like you know, revenge type of thing, but it turned to demonic. Does that make sense? But I don't think it didn't make me feel bad for his home life. I think just hearing about his background kind of just showed what he was like. And yes, it could have been different, but I think maybe Ryan Douglas was just trying to take a different perspective of the background of a school pupil, because a lot of the times that we've seen, or at least what we've heard on news, parents are like, oh, I didn't know. And it's like, he unalived your cat. Like, I'm so confused. How did you not know? So like having this other version of where the school pupil comes from a negative home life, I think it's just a little twist to it. I don't think Ryan Douglas necessarily wanted us to feel bad for the character. I think it was just a different perspective, but I definitely didn't feel bad. Okay, this is starting to get on my nerves. This stupid phone keeps filling up and it's so annoying. Okay, next up. This book suffers from split personality disorder. All of the commentary on social influences, familial influences, homophobia, racism, etc. are beautifully managed, but the actual plot of the story is dull, plodding, nonsensical, and generally quite dreadful to suffer through. I can't help but think that Ryan Douglas would be a great essayist on current events and social issues, maybe not so much as a horror author. I think that's a personal opinion. I think the story was written very well. There were some parts I did have to like re-listen to because I did listen to this on audiobook. I think like it also depends on the medium because some books read better than they do like being listened to. Ryan Douglas could do whatever he want. So I think it really is just a personal preference probably, and also just like with the writing too. Everyone's writing style is not going to be good to other people. I think that's just the personal things. I don't have any gripes with this necessarily, but anyway, moving on to the Black Queen. This one didn't have any 1 stars, and so it had a 2.5 star though. This one is a little bit long too, so I'm just gonna read a little bit of it. Okay, because I always kept it real, I gotta be honest about this book. I wanted to love it so much, and the mystery part is what kept me going, even though it was predictable. Every other freaking page, it had so much trauma and preaching about white tears, etc. I grew up in the deep South, Mississippi to be exact, and this was over the top for a high school. There was a black girl with blue eyes on the cover, but clearly the white main character, Tinsley, was the center of the story. I felt like she wanted a big pat on the back because she was being mistreated by black people, and then at the end, she became all about the people. I don't think Tinsley became all about the people, but also I didn't care for Tinsley either. I think what Jamada Emil was doing was writing from a character's POV that is not well liked. So not like to be like, oh, the unreliable narrator, but it's coming from a perspective that no one really cares about. And it's not really about Tinsley anyway. It's really just about the story and the issues that she had with our other female main character, and just the problems along the way, and what things that happened prior to. So I don't think it really I really didn't care for Tinsley anyway, to be quite honest. I think it was more so about the homecoming queen and her ties to certain characters, like back history or whatever. So yeah, but I mean, I don't think even Tinsley was being mistreated by black people. I think she was just stuck up, just a stuck up white girl who thought that she deserved to win for some reason, and then she didn't, and so she got sad. Like, I didn't think seeing much of it. I actually have another one, because this one was just funny. And someone put, I'm just appalled at this book. I thought it was going to get a 4 or 5 star book since it's Tiffany D. Jackson, and her books are usually 5 or 4 stars for me and fly out of the ballpark. This book didn't even make it onto the field with how trashy it was. I found this funny because I'm gonna need you to see who the author is of the book. This is Jamada Emil. This is Tiffany D. Jackson. Apparently they're the same person now. To Jamada and to Tiffany D. Jackson, apparently y'all are the same person, because we both know that this is not, all 3 of us know that this is not Tiffany D. Jackson's book. So I don't know if the person knew that when they were writing that, or they were just slow. I just thought that was funny, because I was like, I'm sorry, it's not even her book. How did Tiffany get into... Anyway, we're gonna keep it pushing. Next up is Don't Let Him In by Lisa Jewell. Why is things not doing what them to do? Okay. Oh my God, stop. I'll keep this short because I don't have much to say. Calling this a thriller is false advertising. In my opinion, the characters are all flat. There's nothing gripping or exciting about the plot whatsoever. The main guy is a sociopathic loser who gets away with conning women who apparently can't clock his schemes. Which is very true. I mean, that's literally why we have like 99% of these documentaries, is because women can't clock these men scamming them. Like... So this is actually very accurate. And also they mentioned just like all of the... Oh no, that's the other one. But yeah, it's very true. So I found that funny part of the story, just the fact that these women could not piece this together whatsoever. I found it entertaining because it's so true. This is why we have like 90% of these documentaries. You have all these different women being like, well, with me, he was like this, or this was his name. Yeah, because these men are con artists. Like, but the next review does talk about the fact that I found the story to be confusing with the main character, having so many names, the different timelines, made it hard to follow along with the multiple perspectives. It was just too much trying to keep the details straight without it being interesting enough to keep me invested. I love Lisa Jewell. I feel like it could have just went with one less perspective, and not from the main, not from our main character, obviously, but from one of the other women's perspectives. I forget which one, but one of them was just not necessary to me. But other than that, like, it wasn't that hard to follow for me. Maybe it's because I've read a lot of Lisa Jewell books, but also I'm very comfortable with following plot lines like this. Maybe it's because from shows I've watched too. Sometimes I can get lost in certain shows and stuff like that when it does too much and I'm not in the headspace for it. But I was definitely in the headspace for this because I was ready. So my brain was alert. But I think that's just a thing. That's just probably just a preference. Like, it didn't work out for me for, what was it, The Midnight Feast? I didn't like the different perspectives. I couldn't even figure out what was happening. Like, in that book, that one, it didn't work out for me. I was lost. I was so confused. But I've read that author before, so it just didn't work that time. Moving on to Magic in the Melanin. This one didn't have any 1 or 2 stars. I was like, wow, I was shocked. Not because, like, I expected somebody to hate the book, but because, you know, especially since a lot of these 1-star reviews are on Goodreads. We can all conclude on what we feel about that, about Goodreads. So, yeah. This one is a 3.5 star rating. It's the only, like, negative one I could really find. It's the only one that popped up for 3 stars. I couldn't find any, like, no other ones popped up. It says 3, but this was the only one that popped up. So I don't know if it was hidden, taken down. I have no idea. But this review just talks about the beginning part of it. But really just the last paragraph is what stood out to me. Is that there were a couple of really weak links here, which I know always happens with anthologies, but I wish they could have been traded out for stories that were better fleshed out and edited. And yeah, I think that's also too just a preference thing. Some of the stories I don't recall as much as others. Like, there is the one with their perception of, like, heaven and hell, but instead of it being like, okay, instead of like the actual like heaven and hell type of thing, but it's like also there's like a sea where lost souls end up in the water or whatever. Like that story, that one was really good. I really liked that one. That one was very interesting. There were some other ones I really liked too. Other ones I don't remember as much, but I kind of agree. There were some that were a little bit, maybe not something that I enjoyed too much, or maybe ones that I just forgot. The ones I forgot, it didn't hold to me as much. But I think that just comes with every book and every author having their different perspectives and different stories that they want to share. But I don't think that necessarily causes the whole book to be rated 3.5 stars to me. I think there's a story in there for everyone, and yeah, I think it deserves 5 stars for me. I believe it does, because everyone has a story that really resonates with them, something that they really like. Maybe it's by their favorite author, so maybe they focused on that one, but they didn't read certain other ones. Like, you know, yeah, it's always something, but I think it still deserves to be 5 stars. And the last one is 107 Days. We already know how this is going to go. This is going to be completely trash. So I'm not going to take too long on this one, so we're going to wrap this up. Absolutely awful. Absolutely awful drivel spun up by a mentally challenged person who is struggling to come to terms with her own insufficiencies. I tried to read through the whole piece but uncontrollably began spasming spasming. I think that's spelled wrong. Spasming. I don't know. It just looks wrong to me. Every time I started another page. So you're like the guy with Tourette's who screams the N-word. That's what that gave to me. I was just like, oh, okay. Y'all must be related. I don't know what to say. So yeah, since I'm still recovering at this point and it will be a long process, but at the least the healing has begun. I hate people who like hate read, especially from a political figure versus what's going on right now. Oh, but okay. That's what you choose? Okay. All right. There were some other ones there too. Like there was someone who commented saying like, oh, I'm reading this book about her failures while watching that thing's video, like a video of that thing's accomplishments. I'm like, you mean the guy that has several cases of SA who was in the files, whose businesses have plummeted because his businesses haven't done good. He's not a good businessman either. What about the fact that no one wants to be around him? The kids scream and run. What else? His face in general. like what accomplishments? I'm so confused. Like, babe, are we... Do we have the same information? Because I'm so confused. Anyway, you must have been talking about the one time that he was in a movie and he delivered that one line. You're probably talking about that accomplishment. That's it. If you call that an accomplishment, I just call that doing your job. But anyway, moving on. And honestly, disrespectful cash grab with a bunch of blank excuses on why she lost and no actual accountability. Jumping to the end. Only reason I actually finished this was because I had a few long drives with nothing to listen to. Save yourself some time and don't read this. So instead of listening to silence, you decided to listen to a Black woman. So you still chose to listen to a Black woman. A Black woman's voice and opinion still went through your ears. You could have just sat in silence, babe. You could have sat in silence and contemplated your life on your own, but you decided to listen to a Black woman. I don't think this is the dig that you think it is. Because still, a Black woman came to mind and you decided to listen to her. Anyway, like, I don't think that landed how you thought it did, babe. But go off. That's all I have for this video. If you like this video, be sure to like it, comment below what you thought of these books. If you have any comments on these reviews, that'd be fun too. This was just supposed to be a fun video. Nothing to be like taken like extremely seriously and been like, these are points are wrong that they're saying these opinions. I mean, like, some of them are just absolutely ridiculous. Like this one, it's just funny. But I just did this for fun because I'm like, let me see what y'all are saying on the opposite side of these books that I absolutely love. Some of them I'm like, yeah, there's some valid points. I get that. Others I'm just like, you're funny. You're hilarious. So yeah, and until next time, stay magical. Bye.